Trump just said that why are we protecting the Strait of Hormuz when it's China and Japan that are taking their oils from Middle East? And Middle East are some of the richest countries in the world, and why do we have to pay for their own protection? And this is the greatest threat to the United States dollar, because if the United States will stop protecting the Middle Eastern countries, the US dollar will stop being the global reserve currency. And if that happens, it is going to be a financial catastrophe for every single American. And I know that at first glance it seems like Trump is absolutely right, why the United States should be the policeman of the world. But if you look at the geography and you look at how these nations actually work, you will find out that the United States has been playing a very strategic game all this time. So you have the GCC countries that are filled with a lot of oil, and they're afraid that Israel or Iran is going to hurt them, which is why they have signed a treaty with the United States to be protected by the US Navy. In exchange, these countries will be selling their oil to countries such as China and Japan exclusively in the US dollars. At the same time, when they are receiving so much money from these nations, they will be investing trillions of dollars back in the United States, growing the US economy. So first of all, when China needs a lot of money, for example, from the GCC countries, they have to buy a lot of oil or they have to buy a lot of US dollars. So China is buying a lot of US treasuries from the United States. The same thing with Japan. And that creates a scenario where the US dollar is the global reserve currency and the US economy keeps growing. Like, stop for a moment and ask yourself a very basic question. Why Japan has $1.2 trillion of US treasuries? Yes, part of the reason is that they sell a lot of the United States and they make a lot of money. But another major reason is because Japan is 100% or 95% reliant on the Middle Eastern oil. And without US dollars, Japan will simply not be able to buy that oil because the United States has signed a treaty with this, not signed a treaty, but they have agreed with Middle Eastern countries that you sell your oil exclusively in US dollars and we are going to protect you. So the fact that Donald Trump is saying that we're not getting anything out of Middle East is basically saying that he doesn't understand why the dollar is the global reserve currency in the first place. And the job of the United States all of this time was to play all these players against one another. So for example, the United States doesn't actually care about Iran, but if the United States will make Iran an enemy of the world, and now the GCC countries are afraid of Iran, they will ask more protection for the United States. So the geopolitical interest of the United States was never to attack Iran, but actually keep Iran a threat to all these nations so that Israel and the GCC will have an interest to be very close allies of the United States. The moment you destroy Iran, you no longer have a threat to GCC, and the GCC countries don't have a single reason to continue selling the oil to Asian countries exclusively in the US dollars. So the United States was basically playing these players against one another. But now, since you have attacked Iran, and Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz, and the US Navy is not in a capacity to protect the Strait of Hormuz, what do you think is happening here? The United States is simply losing the reason that made the dollar the global reserve currency. And how do we know the United States is not capable of doing that? That's just what Donald Trump said, that he literally asked other nations, China, South Korea, European nations, to come and help the United States to protect that strait. And it's very difficult to do that because why would China come and help the United States when Chinese ships can easily pass through the Strait of Hormuz? But European nations, especially NATO countries that potentially supposed to come to help the United States, NATO is a defensive alliance. Their job isn't to start the war against Iran. And even if you do that, it is impossible to control that choke point because that choke point is very easily disruptive. All Iran has to do is to get a few missiles there and it's over. All Iran has to do is to send enough drones to hit these ships, so these ships cannot possibly buy insurance because the cost of insurance is going to be insanely expensive. Think about that for a moment. Imagine you own an insurance company and there is a ship that is going to cross through the Strait of Hormuz, let's say from Saudi Arabia to Japan. Are you going to sell an insurance to that company knowing that there is a very high probability that ship is going to be struck with a huge drone and that ship costs, let's say, $1 billion? Are you ready to sell them cheaply that insurance? Of course not. So you're going to raise your insurance price. Now, since you have raised the price of your insurance significantly, that ship is not able to afford that insurance. So that ship is not going to cross it. Basically, there is no trade going on between that strait. But up until that point, Iran was basically the enemy, and the GCC countries were afraid of Iran, and Iran did not close the Strait of Hormuz because it will get international condemnation. So the US Navy was de facto ruler of that strait. But right now, because that is no longer happening, the demand for the US dollar is going to plummet and the demand for the US treasuries is significantly going to go down. When you see that Japan holds $1.2 trillion of US treasuries, now they have no motivation to hold so much US treasuries. And most likely, if this is going to continue for at least 6 months, they will start selling their US treasuries, which will raise the yields in the United States. This is extremely dangerous for the United States because the United States has been exporting its inflation to the rest of the world. But because you no longer can actually ensure the petrodollar system, you no longer can export your inflation. And by looking at the size of the US national debt, that inflation is going to come back to the United States. And if you think that last 5 years prices have risen dramatically, then you have no idea what's about to happen when the dollar loses that status, when the petrodollar system is over. Like, I think most people cannot possibly imagine. If you want to imagine that, just go and Google what was inflation in the United States in 1970s. And the war with Iran is going to break the system. It is going to break the petrodollar. And until now, it's still impossible to imagine how bad that situation is going to be, but we're looking into a catastrophe. So why is that a disaster? When the war is over and the United States will no longer be able to protect these nations, there is going to be no more selling oil in US dollars. And that means two things. First of all, it is going to raise the yields on the US debt. The United States borrows billions of dollars every single day, and that debt is being consistently refinanced every single day. As you're watching this video, the United States is refinancing the debt. So as the yields on the US treasuries are going to rise, the US government will be forced to accept a higher cost of refinancing the debt. Now the question comes back to you. How is that going to impact you? So the US government on one side is raising money from taxes. On the other side, it's supposed to spend that money on you. But now because the cost of financing the debt is going to rise, that means that less money will be spent on you. That means that, for example, they won't be paying you more for social security benefits. The United States could easily increase the retirement age so that you will be working for much longer and you will be receiving far less in social security payments. The United States will simply cancel the Medicare. The United States will spend less on building the infrastructure, building proper roads, schools, hospitals, because that money should come from somewhere. Just put yourself in that situation. If you're in huge debt and suddenly you have to make huge interest payments, you will first sacrifice going out with your friends. Then you will start sacrificing your car. And then maybe you should sell your house and move to a smaller house. And that's basically happening very fast. It's supposed to take the United States another 20 years for that to happen. But the Iran war is simply accelerating that. Now, the second way that it's going to impact you directly is that you will have higher mortgage rates. So the debt market is just one huge market, because when you are loaning money as a debt or you're investing in debt, you're basically loaning money to someone else. So we have two major markets in the world. I mean, we have multiple markets, but these are two major ones. One is the debt market, the other one is the equity market. And then we have the commodities markets, then we also have the crypto market. But in general, these two markets represent like the vast majority of the global economy. The debt market is loaning money and receiving interest. So you're having very little risk with that investment. And that's why when you invest in debt, you receive very little interest on your investments. The second market is the equity market, is when you're investing in a company and you're buying a share of the business. So when I'm buying Apple stocks, I'm basically becoming a shareholder of Apple, and now I'm basically one of the many owners of Apple. So whenever the value of Apple grows, I become wealthier because my portion of Apple rises, even if it's a single stock. Yes, it's very difficult to imagine that when you buy an Apple stock, you become an owner of Apple, but Apple has like 56 billion shares, which means means that if you have just one share, you are out of many millions of other people who own Apple. From the perspective of an investor, when the investor is investing in debt, it is looking at the risk and reward. What are the chances, for example, for the US government to default on its loans? It is very little. So the investor is expecting a lower return from the US government. But what are the risks that you will default on your mortgage? Chances are slightly higher. So you are competing in the exact same market when you are borrowing money to buy your house that the United States is borrowing money, which means that if the yields on the US treasuries are going to rise, then the mortgage rates on you are also going to rise, because the investor has a choice. Either the investor is going to give that money to you for 30 years so that you can actually get yourself a house, or the investor is going to loan that money to the US government for the next 30 years. If the yields on the US treasuries rise, an investor can get a higher yield from the US government, then the investor is expecting to receive a higher interest rate when the US government is loaning that money to you. But wait a second, when I take a mortgage, I don't go to these investors. I simply go to my local bank, and my local bank will simply offer me the money. That's not how it works. Local banks, or any bank in particular, is basically the intermediary between you and those investors. So we have a huge market that is called mortgage-backed securities. So all the mortgages in the market are turned into securities and sold to investors, which is why if the yields on the US treasuries will rise, the yields on the mortgage-backed securities will rise, which means that mortgage rates directly will rise for you. Part of the reason that mortgage rates since 1970s have been cooling down is because there has been a petrodollar system. But this war with Iran is going to totally destroy the petrodollar system. Honestly, even I am surprised. I did not expect this at all. So what is Trump's end plan? What is the goal of Trump to finish this war? And I think his plan is the exact same strategy that he used with tariffs. When he started his Liberation Day and he announced tariffs on every single country in the world, the plan was simple. I am going to hike tariffs on all nations, and I will create such a huge mess that getting out of that mess will be impossible, which is why the Supreme Court is not going to overrule his tariffs decision. And that's what he actually said. This is actually his tweet. The actual number that we would have to pay back if for any reason the Supreme Court were to rule against the United States of America on tariffs would be many hundreds of billions of dollars. And that does not even include the amount that the countries and the companies would require for their investment they're making on building the plants and the factories in the United States. We are talking about trillions of dollars. It would be a complete mess, impossible for any country or our country to pay. So if the court rules against the United States of America, it is the greatest national security on the United States, and we are screwed. So he launched these tariffs knowing that they're unlawful. And how do we know that? It's because only Congress can put taxes on the United States. And a tariff is a tax because you are requiring American companies to pay a tax to the US government to sell that in the United States, which means that the Trump administration initially knew that these tariffs are unlawful, but the strategy was simple. I'm going to create such a huge mess that it will be very, very difficult, and it will be the greatest national security threat to overrule these tariffs. But the Supreme Court defied Trump and ruled the tariffs unconstitutional, and now the United States literally ruined its trading relationships with the rest of the world. So all the United States has built since 1944 has just been shattered in the last couple of months or over the last 12 months. And the strategy with Iran is simple. I'm going to start this war against Iran, and then I will ask NATO countries to come and help me. I will ask China to come and help me because China gets its oil from Middle East. Japan is getting its oil from Middle East. European countries will suffer from high oil prices. So guys, if you just come and help us with the Strait of Hormuz, we are going to be in a huge catastrophe. The world will be in a disaster. But it seems like the strategy did not work with tariffs. And since all countries have rejected Trump's request for help, it seems like this time it is not also going to work. Honestly, the US government is doing everything possible to screw the average American people, because rich people are not going to suffer in this war. Rich people have assets, rich people have money, rich people already have their houses. It is the people who are living on paycheck to paycheck will suffer the most, because it will be far more difficult for them to get a mortgage. It will be far more difficult for them to absorb that inflation. It is going to increase prices, but their paychecks aren't going to rise. In 5 to 7 years from now, if this is going to continue, the United States simply won't have the money to pay the Social Security payments. So there are millions of Americans who are about to retire won't be receiving those payments, even though they spend their entire lives paying Social Security taxes, which is probably the greatest disaster the United States is facing. And that's why if you're the average American, if you're an average person who paid these taxes, worked really hard, forget about receiving Social Security payments and start thinking about yourself. Start investing and building your investment portfolio. And if you want a step-by-step strategy on how to do that, just join the Investing Academy. The link is going to be in the description of this video.